There are over 15 million lifts in the world, carrying the equivalent of the global population every 3 days. We trust these journeys will be incident-free, but they can go horribly wrong. Passengers find themselves imprisoned.
Stop! No, stop!
Trapped indoors.
There was no getting access to the people.
He will literally be considering that he's facing potential death.
And in some cases, facing a deadly drop.
I was like, whoa, did we actually just drop 8 floors?
If the elevator free fell, you would have had X number of dead people in there.
With the help of industry experts, we examine why the seemingly innocent mode of transport can suddenly become the most terrifying.
A lift can fail for all sorts of reasons.
I don't know why you would do it, but it is certainly a much faster way to die.
You can't make this up.
And hear from people who have first-hand experience.
The fire department said the elevator can shift, it can drop, so you have to stay in there.
Of being trapped in an elevator.
This is literally the last person in the world to be stuck in an elevator with.
In our modern world, filled with cities that push toward the skies, lifts have become indispensable. They are everywhere. In our places of work, and in the buildings where we live. And yet these simple, unassuming mechanical innovations can suddenly become death traps if we fail to respect their hidden power. In Toronto, Canada, Tamara Brown is boarding the lift in her apartment with her 2 dogs. She's taking it down to the parking garage in the basement. At first, everything appears normal. But what she hasn't realized is that her Rottweiler Vado's lead is trailing on the floor. As the doors close, they trap the leash. Tamara is aware there's a problem, but she has no way of knowing just how much danger Vado is in. As the elevator drops, Vado flies to the ceiling, choking. Tamara is faced with a race against time to get the dog free. First, she tries to release his collar, but it's not budging. She starts to panic, slapping at the open door button, but nothing happens. Now she tries to support his body, but he weighs close to 8 stone. She pulls and pulls at the collar. At last, the lead snaps, but at a cost. Tamara has broken 2 fingers, saving Vado's life. But how did this incident happen? Why didn't the doors detect the lead? Jen Baxter is head of engineering at the Institution of Mechanical Engineers in London.
Many lifts will have sensors in the door that detect if somebody is in the door itself. They may not always detect a very small item or a very thin item like a dog's lead.
In the United States, Patrick Carr has provided expert witness in over 100 cases at state and federal level.
The sensitivity starts at 2 inches from the bottom. We don't want to block a door for every time somebody drops a candy wrapper or a cigarette, but you know, that leash is lying on the base, basically on the ground. You know, normally that would not have occurred were the leash being held up here. You know, at, let's say 10, 20 inches off the ground. The detective would have seen it. So, not much we could do to prevent this particular accident.
And this isn't the only instance of an animal falling foul of a lift. On an ordinary day at the Roadway Inn, Greenville, South Carolina.
Good morning, how are you today?
Ben Duke was about to go above and beyond his duty as manager.
I was working in my office, and when I was coming out, a guest was in the process of checking out of the hotel. As he entered the elevator, he had his dog on a retractable leash and forgot that his dog had not entered the elevator with him. The guy started going up, and the dog stayed down.
Realizing the imminent danger the dog was in, Ben sprang into action.
First thing I did was I grabbed him and picked him up, and I was trying to unhook the leash, but I was being pulled back to the elevator by his cord. It was freaking out the whole time. I mean, it was barking, it was yelping. It actually scratched me across the face, but if I let it go and just let nature happen, that would have been terrible results.
Unable to unclip the collar, Ben had to resort to brute force.
As the cord was going up higher and higher, I finally realized I needed to break it, so I grabbed it and broke the leash. It lasted for probably 10 seconds, but it seemed a lot longer than that.
It was only thanks to Ben's quick reactions that the dog survived.
I don't know if it was adrenaline or if it luckily caught in the right spot in the elevator or if it was divine interaction. I don't know. I know something happened and that dog got free. The owner comes back down the elevator, grief-stricken. He thought he'd killed his dog. Luckily, I was able to show him that his dog was okay, and he was just very, very happy at that point.
As in the case in Toronto, it appears the lift door sensors failed to detect the lead as an obstruction. Mark Fairweather is an expert in vertical transportation.
When you're interacting with a lift, with dogs, pets, small children, elderly people, anybody that might be slightly vulnerable, you need to be careful of what you're doing.
People have to be more aware of their surroundings. They have to be aware that this is a possibility, this can happen.
Thanks to Ben, both the owner and his dog checked out of the hotel unharmed.
Hopefully, most people in that situation would react the same way and try to rescue another living creature.
Across the globe, lifts make over 118 billion trips a year, and that number is only set to increase.
The population of the world is growing, so the only way that we can all get on and thrive in a city is to basically build upwards. And so to go up, you need lifts.
That means more of these machines in the places where we live and where children play. Guangzhou City, China, and CCTV footage shows a young girl in a lift. What it doesn't show is she's tied herself to her friend on the other side of the door using a length of thin cord. But their game is about to go horribly wrong. The girl has pressed the button for the floor below. And as the lift goes down, suddenly she's catapulted up to the ceiling. The cord tying her to her friend comes free, and she crashes to the ground. Her friend realizes something is drastically wrong and races down the stairs. Unbelievably, the little girl escaped uninjured. But cords trapped indoors are not the only hazards faced by lift users.
A lift can fail for all sorts of reasons. If you think about a lift for one moment, it is a box traveling at speed up and down a shaft. It's got electricity, it's got height, and it's got mechanical devices. All of these things are on an incredibly sophisticated piece of kit.
If we understand how a lift works, we can better understand how it can go wrong. Mark Fairweather has come to Eastwood Park's test facility to explain.
So this is the lift machine room. We're now above the lift shaft with everything below us. You have a lift car, and on top of the lift car is ropes. The ropes come up over this sheave, this pulley, and back down again. They go back down to the end of the counterweight. So you have a counterweight, you have a car, and you have ropes, and that is the basics of the lift. The lift car stays in position by tracks in the shaft, so it won't move, same as train tracks. It has to be driven by something, up or down. And this here is the motor. You have to have a brake, because when the lift comes to a stop at a landing, you need to make sure it's secure. One other very important bit of equipment is the overspeed governor. It's a fundamental safety device, and what happens if the lift starts to travel over its rated speed, the safety governor cranks in, stops the ropes, the safety gear engages onto the guide rails, and the lift will come to a halt.
As reassuring as that may be, an emergency stop can lead to another problem, being trapped inside a suspended metal box. Toronto, Canada, 2014. And Nick Nervick is making his way across town.
I was on the way to my friend's house. It was a Sunday around 12 o'clock, and we were gonna watch a basketball or football game. I was waiting for the elevator, and I remember some other guy walking in there with me. Definitely knew him from the neighborhood, but didn't think too much of it. And We got to about the second or third floor, and then the elevator stopped. After about 5 minutes, we knew that we were stuck. We pressed the call button. We were on the phone with the lady.
Are you stuck in the elevator?
She said that she would send the security guard up to make sure that everything was okay.
I will call the concierge.
But the guy started just freaking out. I knew that this is literally the last person in the world to be stuck in an elevator with.
Dude, they're working on it, man.
They're working on it. They're working on it here. Open the door.
Psychologist Emma Kenny has studied the footage.
Nick is in one of those really challenging situations. So first of all, he is trapped in a lift, but he's feeling quite calm about it. But unfortunately at this moment, somebody else is trapped in it with him, and he's quite volatile.
But taking out that anger on the lift itself can have dire consequences. In China, a boy is seen striking lift doors with a martial arts style punch. The metal buckles instantly with the force. If this happens in Toronto, it can severely hinder any chance of a swift rescue.
Dude, what are you doing? Dude, what are you doing? What are you doing?
All Nick can do is wait and hope he is rescued quickly. But whilst he knew that help was on its way, in New York, Nicholas White faced a totally different scenario. It's Friday night in Manhattan, and while most people are clocking off for the weekend, 34-year-old Nicholas White is working a late shift. He decides to head out for a smoke, and leaving his jacket at his desk, he takes the lift to the ground floor. Once finished, he heads back to the lift, but about halfway up, it jolts to a halt. And that's when his ordeal begins. This reconstruction footage shows that after a few minutes, he presses the intercom, but worryingly, there's no response.
There's a surveillance camera in the elevator. There's two people allegedly 24/7 watching these cameras. Nobody responds.
With panic starting to set in, he hits the emergency button, but that just sets off an alarm on the roof of the lift car. Its range is limited.
That elevator became his cage.
Imagine what goes through your head when you're stuck in a lift is a sense that it will only be a matter of time before somebody finds you. I mean, you are used to the fact that you work in a building and that people are coming and going. But after a few hours, obviously that brings some doubts.
In desperation, he tries to find a way out, attempting to prise open the doors and shouting for help. But no help comes.
For Nick, it's hard to imagine how the situation is going to get any worse. He has no food, he has no water, he has absolutely no help around him, and he literally doesn't know if he's going to get out.
You are going to get claustrophobic, and you are going to worry about your air supply. I can reassure you that all lifts have ventilation systems, and so you're not going to run out of air, but that doesn't help the feeling of claustrophobia.
It's now Saturday morning, and Nick has been trapped for over 13 hours. But with no way of knowing, he lies on the floor, drifting in and out of sleep. Every time he wakes, he finds himself back in his nightmare.
It becomes very confusing, and you learn to feel helpless very quickly because everything is beyond your control and you have no idea of when and where you are in reality as far as time goes.
24 hours have now passed, and Nick starts to face up to a stark reality.
He doesn't know how long he's going to be in there, and all of a sudden he's starting to build in this potential and possibility that he might not get found. He will literally be considering that he's facing potential death.
Just as Nick has given up all hope of being found, someone finally spots him on the security camera. After 41 hours trapped in solitary confinement, Nick White was rescued at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon.
As soon as they got a mechanic there, they moved the car. So it was not something that was a catastrophic failure, and probably any mechanic from the company would have gotten there, would have done it in 15, 20 minutes.
At trial, it was deemed his life was never in danger, and White eventually settled out of court for a figure he later described as barely 6 figures, a fraction of what he was expecting.
41 hours? That just shouldn't happen to a human being.
Being trapped in a static lift is scary enough, But for many people, their biggest fear is one that suddenly plummets. Chicago is one of the largest cities in the United States. And keeping the citizens of this bustling metropolis safe is the Chicago Fire Department, led by Battalion Chief Patrick Maloney.
Obviously, fires is our first and priority, but we go to any technical rescues throughout the city of Chicago.
Dan Truesdale is a member of Squad 1, a rescue unit within the service.
There's 4 squads in the city. We do specialized rescue stuff. We do rope rescue, which is part of the elevator runs, things like that.
And the squad's full training was put to the test in November 2018.
I was in the firehouse doing my journal entry.
515, 875 North Michigan Avenue.
At approximately midnight on that date, they called for a blind shaft rescue response.
515.
Call it a blind shaft in the city of Chicago. It's basically an express elevator that skips certain floors.
Say, for instance, you get in the building and there's a designated bank of elevators that will take you directly to the 20th floor. Between the 20th and the first floor, that would be considered a blind shaft. There are no doors, so the first place that the elevator will open is the 20th floor.
The call was to 875 North Michigan Avenue, one of the tallest buildings in the city.
So we arrived on the scene. We were told that the elevator plummeted from the 95th floor down to, we were originally thinking it was the 16th or 18th floor. We found out they were at the 11th floor. The first thing I thought of was I was walking in, it wasn't going to be good.
You're talking about a free fall of over 900 feet, maybe over 1,000 feet. And that's not even survivable in most cases.
Lifts are one of the most efficient and long-lasting forms of transport that we have. They date back to Roman times, when they were used to move goods and animals into the Colosseum. But no one thought of transporting people until 1854, when Elijah Otis made a breakthrough.
He stood up at the Great Exhibition in New York on a wooden platform, and he said, "I'm going to prove to you that travelling lift is safe." And he stood there and he had a gentleman cut the only rope. The lift fell 2 inches before what was then the very first form of safety gear engaged, and he declared, "All is safe, gentlemen, all is safe."
Even with the modern version of Otis's safety mechanism in place, lifts can still travel a significant distance before the gears engage. In Chicago, a lift has reportedly dropped 84 floors, and Battalion Chief Patrick Maloney and his squad have rushed to the scene, fearing the worst.
The first thing I thought of was I was walking in, it wasn't going to be good.
Unbelievably, the 6 people inside the lift, including a pregnant woman, were all unharmed. The fire department's next priority was to get them out of the difficult blind lift shaft.
We were going to do an elevator-to-elevator rescue, coming in off the top of the elevator and then putting them into the elevator that is working. I put 2 Squad 1 firefighters in the elevator shaft.
And at that time is when we discovered that we had a spool of cable on top of the elevator.
It was then that the fire department realized that the cause of the lift failure was a snapped cable. It was now lying on top of the emergency exit.
We couldn't get on top of it. There was no getting access to the people.
So we came back down, we reassessed, and then the thought was that we're going to breach a wall.
The elevator just so happened to be with access to a parking garage area. So we went into the parking garage, drew out our lines to cut out.
This mobile phone footage from inside the lift shows the moment the fire team began cutting through the wall.
We breached the wall with cutting tools and sledgehammers.
And we cut the cinder block, took it all out, and the elevator just was right there.
And we were able to open the door. Needless to say, they were very gracious to see the Chicago Fire Department.
We made sure that the elevator was secure, that it wouldn't move anywhere. Put a ladder down into the elevator, and everybody just walked up and out.
They were all smiling. hugging each other and thanking us, which we were very happy to see that everything turned out to be great.
In total, the rescue operation lasted less than 2 hours. But what caused this accident to happen?
It's pretty obvious that there was probably one or more failures in the lift, and therefore it went down the lift shaft in an uncontrolled movement before the safety gear engaged.
The victims reportedly heard loud clunking noises outside the lift just before it stopped.
So it's very likely that this is where the brakes are kicking in and trying to slow the car on the rails. And there are different ways that this happens. It could be by gripping, or it could be by wedges going into notches on the rails. So depending on what their safety system is will depend on the sort of noises that you hear.
But why did the lift fall such a large distance before the brakes kicked in?
If you've got a rated speed of a lift of 4 meters per second, it goes above 4 meters per second, that's when the safety gear engages. So it could have travelled quite a long way, but at some point it broke its rated speed and therefore the safety gear engaged.
This was not a free fall. This was a controlled stop. If the elevator free fell, you would have had X number of dead people in there.
But it's not just snapped cables that can cause a lift to drop. They can be overloaded too. Queensland, Australia, and Kay Lemling-Bruggen is about to celebrate the end of his high school education in a rented apartment in Surfers Paradise.
I got a phone call from a few mates a couple floors down saying, you know what, we're gonna have a party at ours, and we all thought, let's go downstairs. We walk out the apartment, go into the corridor and call the elevator, and once the elevator doors open, me, my mate and my school friend, we all piled in first, and then a bunch of randoms followed. More and more people got in the elevator, it was getting tighter and tighter. And then the elevator started dropping as we were still loading in. Broke the elevator! And as this happened, you know, people like panicking, you know, so people started jumping out of the elevator. And as they're jumping out, elevator's still going with the doors right open, so the gap to actually climb out was getting smaller and smaller. So that then the elevator gained some sort of traction and then stopped halfway through the 2 levels. 14 people trapped, and the elevator was labelled for 8 people. They called the emergency phone.
I think we may have possibly overloaded the elevator. And
Joke, laughing, I think we overloaded the elevator, and laughed a little bit. And then once someone actually realised how much we overloaded this elevator, people started panicking.
I can't breathe!
With so many bodies crammed into such a tight space, the temperature started to rise.
It was that hot, it was almost like a sauna.
Stop, no stop!
So one of my closest mates, he ended up ripping open the elevator door so we had some fresh air, because in the elevator shaft, well, it was actually nice and cool, thank goodness.
But the situation was about to take a dangerous turn. Suddenly, with no warning, the lift began to drop.
At this point, the door was open so we could actually see the floors going by, and this is like, whoa. One door, that's another floor, that's another floor. So we all sort of braced ourselves and holding on to whatever we could.
The fact that the car doors were open, if they started to go towards the wall which was open, then that would have been some nasty accidents where you could have actually got sucked out of the car.
With the brake failing, there was only one thing that was going to stop the lift car.
Cash, bro, we're just... Oh! Holy I was like, whoa, did that actually happen? Like, did we actually just drop from 8 floors to the ground? Cash, bro, we're just... Oh!
They hit the buffer at the bottom, and that buffer will provide a shock absorber which will have cushioned their landing, even though the lift was overloaded. And I think this is a real lesson in why not to get as many people into a lift as you can.
People talk about this myth of if you're cruising down a lift shaft in a lift car, just before you hit the bottom, you should jump. I don't think it'd do the slightest bit of good whatsoever.
If you are travelling, for example, at 90, 100 miles an hour, and you time it exactly perfectly that you jump before you hit the buffer at the bottom, you are still travelling at 90 or 100 miles an hour and will still land at the same speed.
Just over an hour into the ordeal, and a rescue team has arrived to aid the stricken students.
Hey, look.
He's talking.
So we're like, okay, now we're at the bottom, but the doors are still closed. Like, what's now? And then authorities actually yanked open those doors and let us out. And it was just a sigh of relief. It was like fresh air, I can breathe. The technician said that the elevator wasn't supposed to drop like it did, brakes failed. But after all, we did overload the elevator. It was way overweight, which we weren't aware of at the time. We just wanted to get to the floor below.
There's a floor to weight ratio for every lift, and we work on 75 kilograms per person. So if it's a 10-person car, it's 750 kilograms. And that is how we work out the weight ratio in a car.
This is just not preventable. So it's nothing to do with technology. It has all to do with being 19.
And yet, despite these occurrences, it's easy to overlook the fact that lifts are amongst the safest forms of transport that we use. In the US, 26 people a year perish in lift-related accidents, whilst cars account for 26 per hour.
There's 0.015 accidents per lift. It actually means that you've got a 1 in 1.32 million chance of being injured on a lift.
But despite this impeccable safety record, some people still find it impossible to step into a lift. As in the case of Sue Collins, who hasn't set foot in one for 25 years.
When I think about getting into a lift, I immediately feel a panic. I can't breathe properly, I feel clammy, I feel as though my heart is beating out of my chest.
Phobias are a life-limiting experience, which means that you are prevented from doing things that you would ordinarily as a normal person be able to do. It can be triggered, and also it can be inherited.
In Sue's case, her fear began whilst taking a lift with her baby daughter.
We came to the floor we wanted to get out on, and the doors, it only took a second to open, but in that 1 second, I panicked. And I thought, how would I get out of here if these doors don't open? And I've never been in a lift since.
In an attempt to confront her fear, she's come to London to meet hypnotherapist Aaron Surtees, who has helped to alleviate patients of all kinds of phobias, from lifts and escalators to flying. Before hypnotizing Sue, Aaron is keen to see for himself just how severe her phobia is and when exactly it takes hold.
So here is our lift. We're at the top of the building here. Now how are you feeling right now?
At this moment, where I'm stood, I'm okay.
How about if you step to this line here, just where that line is there? Has that got a little bit worse there?
As I get closer, just feel my heart starting. I feel panicky and I'm sweating. Yeah, I just can't even think about getting going. Aaron asked me to step a little bit closer to the lift, and I started to experience the start of a panic attack. I hate it. I hate the way it controls my life. I hope today is the start of me saying no to this phobia.
To see if Aaron can help her overcome her fear of lifts, the next step for Sue is to undergo a course of hypnotherapy. Back in Toronto, Nick Nervick is still trapped in a tense situation with a stranger, and things are about to go from bad to worse.
Are you stuck in the elevator?
They have raised the alarm, and help seems to be forthcoming.
She said that she would send the security guard up to make sure that everything is okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right, sir. Help is on the way. They are coming in to assist you guys, okay?
How long? They've been coming to assist for 10 minutes already.
Everything seems like it's going fine. It felt like there to help. It was very relieving. I thought that we were going to be out of there pretty quickly. Remain calm. But then the guy that was in the lift with myself out of nowhere just starts freaking out.
This piece of shit told me, help is out of the way! Help is out of the way! My sack of shit. Who's on the way? Open the door!
Most of the auto dialers that you press, it's a telephone line in effect, and it normally goes through to a call centre. Those people are trained operatives who are trained to keep you calm, keep you informed, and let you know what's going on. Now, it might well be that what they tell you, you don't want to hear. They might say that we've dispatched an engineer and they're going to be 45 minutes. 45 minutes strapped in a lift might not be everybody's cup of tea. It's very important that you're given accurate information, but also that you're given it in a way that keeps you calm and keeps you relaxed.
Don't talk if you're gonna talk your nonsense.
Hey man, it's probably just best to leave it alone.
The fact that Nick's filming himself is interesting. First off, it helps him to mediate his anxiety. Like he's talking to an audience, or indeed his phone at least will provide that audience.
He is scared. The security guy.
Sleep with one eye open, holding your pillow tight.
And
turn lights.
And it also means that he can engage in a conversation with the guy in the lift without directing it at him. So it's a way of dealing with his anxiety, but also a way of connecting. And when you're stuck in a lift with somebody who's being volatile, and he is being volatile, connection's quite important to keep you safe.
I think there's a sooner chance of me breaking this door down than you being calm.
He can't communicate efficiently with the guy, but he can communicate to the phone, showing the guy who's in the lift that he's rational and that he's also present and that he's also got feelings about this, albeit completely different to the kind of feelings that are being expressed.
If you don't open the door, get the out of my way.
we're totally fine. We're good. You don't need to worry about it, man.
Now that we have air.
Yeah, we got the door open. This guy's freaking out. It's causing us not to get help. It's causing us to be stuck. You know what I mean? I just wanted to try and remain calm.
But in such a pressure cooker environment, how much longer can Nick remain calm before help arrives? We use them every day, and we might take them for granted. But lifts are complex machines and can be death traps if used incorrectly. As in this clip from China, where a man decides to take out his frustrations on the lift doors, only for it to end in disaster.
The lift will open when it arrives at the floor because the internal doors indicate to the external doors that it has arrived. And so this type of scenario of forcing doors open is very likely to run the risk of falling down a lift shaft.
Which is why you need to tread carefully around these machines, no matter how big the occasion. When it came to her wedding to Justin, Melissa Rogers had made sure everything was perfect. From the idyllic ceremony to the meticulously planned reception in Providence, Rhode Island.
After the pictures, we decided to kind of separate. Justin went to the cocktail hour, and I went up with two of the wedding coordinators in the elevator and kind of left all my bridesmaids, and they were supposed to meet me on the next floor up. We hit the button to go up the one floor, and as soon as we got in, there was kind of a shudder and a shake, loud noise, and I didn't really think anything of it. When I had asked the wedding coordinators, you know, does this happen frequently, thinking that it was an old elevator, maybe it breaks down every now and then, and they said, no, this never happens. That's when I got a little nervous, and I started to really think, you know, am I gonna miss my wedding? How long am I gonna be here? Lots of things kind of go through your mind when it's your wedding day and you're missing it.
After 10 minutes of trying to make contact on the intercom, one of the coordinators managed to alert the bridal party of the situation.
One of her bridesmaids came up to me, grabbed my arm. I kind of turned around. She said, you need to come this way with me. Melissa's stuck in the elevator. As the process went on and the fire department came, it grew a little bit more of a crowd between the wedding party, and they decided to have a little cocktail hour of themselves outside the elevators. That's right.
With the fire department on the scene, their first job was to prise the doors open and establish contact.
I could actually see people and talk to people, and so somebody on one of the lower levels passed me a glass of champagne. Once the doors opened, I was really excited. I thought, this is the way out. Somebody can just lift me out of this little hole.
You can't make this up. The bride is stuck in the elevator.
Jump! Although given playfully, the advice to jump couldn't be more wrong.
The fire department did not want Melissa to go out the top or the bottom in fear of her being cut in half.
If somebody tries to get out the lift when it moves, obviously it can act as a guillotine.
This footage from China shows just how perilous an unsecured lift can be. In this case, the woman has a narrow escape. But this lady is not so lucky. As she climbs in, the lift immediately starts moving upwards, trapping her leg. And as she reaches the top of the lift doorway, her leg breaks. The lift car continues to propel her upwards for 3 floors, scraping her leg against concrete and metal until it mercifully comes to a halt. And so, to avoid a similar catastrophe in Providence, Rhode Island, bride Melissa was told to stay put.
The safest method is always to get the lift as close to floor level as possible, and when it's at floor level, then the person can step out of the lift car.
The fire department, they ended up stabilizing the elevator. A technician came, they turned the system off, rebooted the whole system, and the elevator rose, and out I came. The doors opened and walked out like everybody else. There was a big celebration between family and friends and the fire department.
Yeah.
I took pictures with the firemen.
With the bride and groom reunited, the celebrations could now continue with added gusto.
When it was all said and done, I probably wouldn't change anything. It really creates a pretty good story.
Yeah. By following instructions and staying calm, all ended well for Melissa. But in Toronto, Nicholas Nervik was facing a very different proposition.
And here's the bell again. We are trying to remain calm, but it is very hard because,
The guy is actually really becoming very agitated. You know, he wants some kind of result. He wants to get out of that space, and he's feeling more and more incensed that he's not getting a reaction that he requires.
Hello?
I don't want management. I want someone that can do something. Calm down. Don't tell me to calm down.
Hey, miss, yeah, we're pretty calm here.
You want me to calm down? How about I calm you down? Yelling is not helping your... You!
It was at this point that panic starts to take a firm hold of Nick.
Having trouble breathing here. I don't have my puffer with me. I think I'm having an asthma attack right now.
Nick is displaying absolutely classic signs of panic. Even though it's quite calm in the initial stages and he's using something to cope, he's using his phone, as he starts to struggle with his breathing, he feels really quite scared and out of control in this situation. And out of the two of them, he's the one who's dealing with it psychologically in a way that's more affecting him.
A little freaked out, to be completely honest, and I don't know what to do.
The whole anxiety comes up, the fact that I might die, and this and that, and then it leads to just an overall just state of fear.
It's having an asthma attack and you guys do nothing.
Yeah, I don't have my puffer on me.
After the lady on the intercom was aware that there was a medical emergency, she told us and informed us that they were going to send help.
2.
Finally, help arrives in the form of the Toronto Fire Brigade.
I'd like you to get me out of here. I've been here for an hour.
Shut up for a second.
Can I calm you guys down?
Man, first of all, I'm completely calm right now. I just want to be able to get out of here as soon as possible.
After being trapped for over an hour, the rescue operation proved swift.
The fire department opened up the door for us. 2 firefighters I took each of their hands and they just pulled me out. As soon as I got out of there, I dipped. I left. Haven't gone back to that building since.
He may be free from the lift, but Nick still feels trapped by the events of that day.
I still suffer from anxiety due to it. Whenever I'm about to hop into an elevator, I always make sure that I look and see who I'm going in there with. It's more so the fear of something happening inside because you cannot control what another person is doing when they're stuck in a small environment like that.
Whilst Nick may have gained a phobia, Sue Collins is trying to overcome her debilitating fear of lifts with the help of hypnotherapist Aaron Surtees.
So I just want you to start by relaxing all of the tiny muscles.
Although not fully asleep, Sue's mind and body is relaxed, making her more receptive to Aaron's positive suggestions.
Hypnotherapy changes and resets the mind. It reprograms the mind. You feel calm, confident, and in control. Taking out the irrational thoughts, the old loop that creates that fear mentality, creating a new loop of I can, I will. The eyes open in their own time and take a nice deep breath.
With the final session complete, there's only one way to find out if the treatment has worked.
If I was able to travel in that lift, it would be a miracle. It would open up parts of my life again that have been closed to me for a long time.
Okay, so let's get this cool this lift. How are you feeling, Sue?
I'm really nervous.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Take a step. Remember that happy place?
Yes,
Remember
happy
that
place.
happy place?
Happy place.
It's the first time Sue has set foot in a lift for 25 years.
We're having excitement, that nervous excitement can be positive. Remember that?
Yes. I just took on board everything that Aaron had said, the techniques he'd taught me, forefinger and thumb, and go into my happy place. Can't believe I'm in here.
You're doing brilliant.
Oh my God.
You're doing fantastically.
I was 99.9% sure that that wasn't going to happen.
And here we are, all the way down. All the way down. There you go.
Yeah.
You've done brilliant.
God.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Oh God, I can't believe it. Oh my God, that's amazing. I can't believe I've actually just ridden in a lift. Thank you so much.
Sue did brilliantly, and I think that she will actually just feel happier over the coming weeks, months, as she knows that this phobia has gone completely.
My life is going to be different from this moment on. It's going to be amazing.
So thanks to Aaron, Sue's lift phobia has been cured. But what does the future hold for this mode of transport?
The interfaces between people and machines in everything we do are getting more sophisticated. Already in our industry, you can walk into the building and it can do facial recognition and know who you are, what floor you want to go to, and it can direct you to the right lift without touching any button.
In the future, we may see lifts that move much faster. We may see lifts that potentially could move in different directions.
It's been labelled as a Willy Wonka lift, where basically you have lifts that go vertically and horizontally with many in a shaft, and they go up and they go across. You can help the flow of people into a building and out of a building more successfully, then you get efficiency and then you get a better lift system. In our industry, if you don't notice the lifts, then actually we've done a great job.